First, Tui Bei Tu. Source: Wikipedia. Tui Bei Tu is an ancient Chinese prophecy book. According to legend, Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty Li Shimin ordered astronomer Li Chunfeng and fortune teller Yuan Tiangang to see author and predict the fortune of the Tang dynasty. Since such prophecies were strictly prohibited in all dynasties, the book was constantly tampered with during its circulation, and the known history was changed into prophecies and compared to them, so its original appearance has been elusive. There are currently 6 different versions of Tui Bei Tu, and their contents are different and conflict with each other. The earliest document in which the term Tui Bei Tu is found is Daun Jingshu of the Tang dynasty. UK, a native of the southern Song dynasty, also mentioned Tui Bei Tu in the History of Jiang in the Book of Forbidden Prophecies by Yi Ziu, thinking that the author was Li Chunfeng. The History of the Song dynasty Yi Wen Jiwu written in the Yuan dynasty classified the book into the category of Zi Bulletin and 5 elements, and the author is unknown. Some books, such as Deciphering the Tribulation of Leap 8th Month, claim that the popular version is not a product of the Tang dynasty. Professor Lao Sigwang from the Department of Philosophy of the Chinese University of Hong Kong once cited UK's History of the Yang and Lu's Book of the Southern Tang Dynasty to prove that Tui Bei Tu has been tampered with and is no longer available. Mr. Wang Tingzi, a Hong Kong columnist, pointed out that the Tongxing version was a forgery created by people in the late Qing dynasty and the early Republic of China, and some images should have been mixed by warlocks in the late Qing dynasty. The most common version now is the 60 pictures version published in the 4th year of the Republic of China, with a preface written by Jin Shengtan in the late Ming dynasty and early Qing dynasty and annotations. It has 1 volume and 60 images, arranged according to the heavenly stems and earthly branches. Each image is accompanied by a picture, 4 sentences of prophecy, 4 sentences of ode, and a paragraph of commentary by Jin Shengtan. Starting from Since Pangu to Zi, in the end it is better to push back and go back to rest. This version is generally believed to be a forgery created by people in the late Qing dynasty and early Republic of China. Another common version is kept in the Fuxinian Library of the Institute of History and Philology, Academia Sinica, Taipei, in 2 volumes. 65 pages, each page has a color picture, 7 words and 4 sentences, and some notes. It started with Anluo Mountain, Wooden Yuhuan, Yang, Yahuan, and ended with a person in armor pushed a person in gold armor to push back. There are at least 6 versions of Tui Bei Tu. Colored Ming manuscript, collected by Academia Sinica, Taiwan. Ming manuscript, no picture, collected by the Taiwan Central Library. Ming manuscript, University of Chicago collection. Pan's Baxilo manuscript in the early Qing dynasty. Lithograph version from the late Qing dynasty, collected by the University of Chicago. The popular version, i.e. Jin Shengtan's annotated version, is said to have leaked out of the old summer palace when it was burned down in 1860. This version is mostly circulated on the internet, but this version is not collected by any library or academic institution. Second, Li Chunfeng. Source: ChatGPT. Li Chunfeng was a famous scholar, astronomer, mathematician, and historian in China during the Sui and Tang dynasties. He lived between 602 and 670, roughly covering the founding of the Tang dynasty and the early Tang period. Li Chunfeng has made significant contributions in many fields such as mathematics, astronomy, and history. He was one of the main compilers of the Dian calendar, a calendar book widely used in ancient China. He also made achievements in the field of mathematics, especially arithmetic and algebra. In terms of history, Li Chunfeng served as the secretary supervisor during the Tang Taizong period, and later became the Taishi Ling during the Tang Jiuzong period, responsible for compiling history. His research on history includes the compilation and annotation of the history of Han, Wei, Jin, etc. His contribution to history also provided important references for later historians. As for whether Li Chunfeng was involved in the legend of Tui Bei Tu, this is not certain, because Tui Bei Tu itself is a mysterious prediction document, and its authenticity is controversial. The legend related to Li Chunfeng mainly refers to the fact that he and Yuan Tiangang jointly created this picture, but this statement lacks precise historical evidence. Source: Wikipedia. His father, Li Bo, was a Jiaotang county captain in the Sui dynasty. He later gave up his official position and became a Taoist priest with the Taoist name Huang Guanzi. He is the author of Astronomical Elephant Ode. Li Chunfeng studied Taoism in Tiantai Mountain in his early years and was the supervisor of Emperor Yang of Sui dynasty at first. He is familiar with astronomy, calendar, and mathematics. One day, Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty received a secret prophecy, which said, when the Tang dynasty is weak, there will be a female Wu who will replace the king. Li Chunfeng predicted that Empress Wu would become emperor and kill all the descendants of the Tang family. Taizong wanted to kill him, but Li Chunfeng admonished him, "No. If your majesty stays, even if the emperor is temporarily absent, the state will be extended. If your majesty kills him, he will be a man, which will destroy the royal family." Taizong then stopped. Lu Kui's Jiahua of the Sui and Tang dynasties recorded that Chunfeng could predict solar eclipses. Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty did not believe his words. Li Chunfeng said, "If there is no eclipse, I will ask for his death." One day, Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty could not wait for the solar eclipse, so he told Li Chunfeng, he said, "I will let you go home and say goodbye to your wife and children." Li Chunfeng drew a mark on the wall and said, "It's still a moment early. When the sun shines here, the solar eclipse will appear." Later, it turned out that the eclipse happened as promised. Not even a hair's breadth missing. One day, Li Chunfeng and Zhang Wenshao were traveling with the emperor. A strong wind came from the south. Li Chunfeng thought that someone must be crying 5 miles to the south, while Zhang Wenshao thought there was music there. Sure enough, a funeral procession passed by later. In the 7th year of Zhenguan, 633, both Old Book of Tang and New Book of Tang record that Li Chunfeng creatively added the ecliptic ring and the ecliptic ring to the equatorial ring by improving the traditional armillary sphere, and developed the unique triple ring at that time. The armillary sphere is called the armillary zodiac. In the 15th year of Zhenguan, 641, he was appointed as Taishi Cheng and wrote Faxiangji, which studied the armillary sphere. In the 22nd year of Zhenguan, 648, he was appointed Taishi Ling and was ordered to annotate the 10 books of Xuanjing. Li Chunfeng also compiled books such as Tui Bei Tu, Dianzhong Cultural Relics, Secret Pavilion Records, and Yi Si Zhan. Li Chunfeng also pointed out the errors in the Huiyan Yuan Li. During the reign of Emperor Jiaozong of the Tang dynasty, Li Chunfeng compiled the Linder Li based on Lu Zhou's Huangji Li. In the 2nd year of Linda, 665, Li Chunfeng's Linder calendar was used instead. 3rd. Yuan Tiangang. Source: ChatGPT. Yuan Tiangang, about 466 AD, about 548 AD, was a famous Taoist priest, astronomer, and mathematician during the southern and northern dynasties of China. His name remains in Chinese history due to its role in the legend of Tui Bei Tu. Yuan Tiangang has profound attainments in Taoist practice. It is said that he once obtained some information about history and the future under the inspiration of the gods. These revelations are believed to have provided inspiration for his creation of Tui Bei Tu. In the legend of Tui Bei Tu, Yuan Tiangang and painter Li Chunfeng created this map, which depicts the historical process from the Tang dynasty to modern times, and contains a series of patterns and texts, which is interpreted as a reference to future history. Development forecasts. However, as with other parts of the Tuibei picture, there is no conclusive evidence as to Yuan Tiangong's historical origins or whether he actually participated in the creation of the picture, so his role in this legend remains somewhat mysterious. Yuan Tiangong's contributions were mainly in the fields of Taoism, astronomy, and mathematics. He left a certain impact on the development of ancient Chinese science and culture. Source: Wikipedia. Yuan Tiangang, 573 April 645, also known as Yuan Tiangang, was a native of Chengdu County, Yizhu, now Chengdu City, Sichuan. He was a fortune teller in the early Tang dynasty and was proficient in facial physiognomy. It is said in later generations that he and Li Chunfeng produced Tuabeitu. During the Day period of the Sui dynasty, he was the county magistrate of Ziguan County, later called Ziguan County after the Tang dynasty, and the county seat is now Jinshaijing Town, Qinwei County, Leshan City, Sichuan Province. In the early years of Wude when the Tang dynasty was established, Zhang Junqi, the envoy of Shu Dao, appointed him the magistrate of Huajing County. Since the Sui dynasty, he has been famous for being good at fortune-telling, and he is most famous for his face-to-face encounter with Wu Zetian, who dressed up as a young man. If she is a woman, it is impossible to predict, and she will be the master of the world in the future. In the 8th year of Zhenguan, 634, year, Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty heard about his name and summoned him to Jukan Palace and said, "In ancient times, there was Yan Junping. How about I have you today?" Yuan Tiangang replied, "Jun Yan was not at the right time in his life, and I defeated him." At that time, Sen Wenwen, a member of Zongsha Sharon, asked him to have his face read. Yuan Tiangang said, "Sharon Academy has become broad, the eyebrows cover the eyes, and the literary talent is shocking all over the world, but the top of the head is bony and has not yet been formed. If I get a third-grade official, I'm afraid it is a sign of shortened lifespan." In the 18th year of Zhenguan, 644 AD, Sen Wenwen was promoted to Zongshuling, with an official position of the third rank. In the 19th year of Zhenguan, 645 AD, he died of a sudden illness while following Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty on his expedition to Liaodong. This year, Zhang Xingcheng and Ma Zhou, the imperial censors, asked Yuan Tiangang to see his fortune. Yuan Tiangang looked at it and said, "Ma Xiu has a rhinoceros on his head, a jade pillow, and it looks like he is carrying something on his back. He should have an indescribable appearance of wealth." In modern times, the way of the king and the way of the minister are in harmony with each other, and there are very few people like you. Your face is red, the color of the Mingmen on the left and right sides of the face when the ears are dim, the bones behind the ears have no ridges, and the ears have no roots. I'm afraid they are not the sign of longevity. He said to Zhang Xingcheng, "Your facial features are complete. You have river ears, high nose, river eyes, ditch mouth, and a plump lower court. Although you get the official position late, you will eventually be in the position of Prime Minister." Ma Zhou later became an official to Zongshu Ling, who was also the minister of the Ministry of Personnel, died at the age of 48. Zhang Xingcheng later became the official of Shangshu Yupashe. Yuan Tiangong's facial recognition is mostly like this. Shen Kuagong Gao Shilian asked him, "What else can you do as an official?" Yuan Tiangang replied, "I know my destiny. My lifespan will be exhausted in April this year." Sure enough, Yuan Tiangang passed away in April. His son Yuan Keshi. According to legend, Li Chunfeng and Li Chunfeng were traveling with Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty and saw two horses with red hair and black hair by the river. Taizong asked them to calculate which horse would enter the river first. Yuan Tiangang figured out the hexagram Li and Li was fire, so he guessed that the horse with red hair like fire entered the water first. Li Chunfeng believed that when making fire in Suamu, one should first see black smoke before seeing the fire, so he guessed that the black-haired horse entered the river first. In the end, Li Chunfeng guessed correctly. However, he humbly said that if it were not for Yuan Tiangang, he would not be able to deduce the mysterious relationship between smoke and fire. Yuan Shaocheng, an important character in Chapter 10 of Journey to the West, is said as the uncle of Yuan Tiangang, the chief of the Qintian Supervisory Station. Yuan Tiangang is a real historical figure, but Yuan Shaocheng is fictional. In the story, the Jinghe Dragon King bet with Yuan Shaocheng on the timing of rainfall. After that, the Jinghe Dragon King was beheaded by Wei Zhengming. The Jinghe Dragon King entangled Tang Taizong, which caused Tang Taizong to visit the underworld, return to the soul, hold water and land conferences, and finally led to Tang monks' Buddhist scriptures. 4th. Yuan Tiangang read Wu Zetian's fortune. Source: ChatGPT. Regarding the legend of fortune-telling between Yuan Tiangang and Wu Zetian, the exact historical records are somewhat vague, and they mainly appear in records in historical books such as Zizi Tongjian. Legend has it that Yuan Tiangang once read Wu Zetian's fortune before she ascended the throne and predicted that she would become an emperor. Wu Zetian is the only female emperor in Chinese history. She finally ascended to the throne after a series of coups during the Tang dynasty. Legend has it that Yuan Tiangang predicted her rise during a fortune-telling, which is considered a mysterious explanation for Wu Zetian's success in the political arena. However, there is controversy about the authenticity of this legend, because historical records may be mixed with some imagination and fiction of later generations. At the same time, physiognomy itself was highly valued in ancient times, but there are also many legends and mysterious elements, making it difficult to determine its scientific nature. Generally speaking, the legend of Yuan Tiangang and Wu Zetian has been widely circulated in history, but the specific details and authenticity are still a question to be verified. Other gods predicted the fate of Wu Zetian, Yang Guifei and Cixi. Source: Yahoo News. There have been many gods in China throughout the ages. They can calculate who will ascend to the throne in the future, and they can also assist the emperor in slowly gaining a high position. These people have extremely profound strategies. It is said that when Empress Wu Zetian was just a child, a certain expert predicted that she would become emperor after looking at her face. In the end, it turned out to be true. And one of his prophetic books is still handed down to this day, and it has made many successful predictions, which is amazing. In the Tang dynasty, when talking about divination wizards, we have to talk about Yuan Tiangang. Yuan Tiangang once helped Wu Zetian look like a child when she was a child. At that time, Wu Zetian was still an infant dressed in men's clothing, but Yuan Tiangang was able to calculate that if she is a woman, it is impossible to predict, and she will be the master of the world. This sentence symbolizes that Wu Zetian has the image of an emperor, but Wu Zetian's mother thinks that Yuan Tiangang is talking nonsense. Unexpectedly, Wu Zetian was really favored by Tang Jiaozong Li Ji and eventually became a female emperor. In addition, Yuan Tiangang also co-authored Tui Bei Tu with Li Chunfeng. This book is also a famous prophecy book in ancient China and has even become a banned book. However, this book not only cleverly predicts the occurrence of ancient events, but also sometimes coincides with it in modern society, which is surprising. Among them, in the fifth image of Tui Bei Tu, it is prophesied, the poplar flowers are flying, the road to Shu is difficult, and the bamboos are cut off before the sun can see the sun, and there is no history of peace. The ode is, the fishermen and drums pass through Tongguan. On this day, the king is lucky. On Jian Mountain, if Mu Yi encounters a ghost under the mountain, he will bury the golden ring here. In the fifth image of Tui Bei diagram, it is mentioned that Mu Yi is like encountering a ghost under the mountain. The sum of Mu Yi is the character Yang, and ghost under the mountain is the character Wei. When concubine Yang Guifei, also known as Yang Yahuan, arrived at Mayiapo, she would definitely die here. In the end, the prophecy was successfully fulfilled. There is also the 36th image of Tui Bei diagram, which predicts, a slender woman defends the enemy with bare hands, regardless of good or bad, and the light blocks the Sunday. The ode says, the two fists spin the universe, the sea is unreasonable, and the mother and child are not at peace. In order of precedence, we look west to Chong'an and enter the palace. This pushing back picture describes the events of Empress Dowager Cixi during the Xinyu and the subsequent two palaces where the Empress Dowagers listened behind the scenes. Among them, the light blocks out the sun alludes to women's control of the imperial power, mother and son, in no particular order. Looking west to Chang'an to enter the palace refers to the invasion of the 8 power allied forces and Cixi's escape to Chang'an with everyone. Another thing that is even more amazing about Yuan Tiangang is that one day someone asked him, "What else can you do as an official?" Yuan Tiangang replied, "I know my destiny, and my lifespan will be exhausted in April this year." As a result, Yuan Tiangang really passed away in April. Yuan Tiangang read fortunes for 3 people and lamented why he didn't listen to the whole story. Source: Sanli News. In the Tang dynasty of China, Yuan Tiangang was very famous for his physiognomy. He was a charlatan, but he was able to mingle in the officialdom of the Tang dynasty as a living god. He was even valued by Wu Zetian. It cannot be said that he really had his own tricks. According to the Old Book of Tang, Yuan Tiangang was from Chengdu, Sichuan. His era happened to be between the Sui dynasty and the early Tang dynasty. At this time, people were running around for life and seeking opportunities to make a living. In the first year of the Sui dynasty's great cause, Yuan Tiangang happened to have an opportunity to help Du Yan, Wang Gui and Wei Ting read fortunes in Luoyang, the eastern capital. Yuan Tiangang first looked at Du Yan. He said, "The left side of your nose to your ears looks broad and full. You will definitely be famous for your articles in the future." Yuan Tiangang said to Wang Gui, "When you stop 3 times up, down, middle and down, your forehead will be in heaven, and with the chin and the ground facing each other, it can be full and flawless. Within 10 years, you will definitely be able to become a 5th-rank official." Yuan Tiangang looked at Wei Ting again and praised him even more. "He has a face like a tiger, and he seems to be a person who makes friends with great sincerity. His friends will definitely lead him to become a military attaché." After hearing this, the 3 people immediately left happily. Yuan Tiangang sighed and said, "When I heard that I could become a 5th-rank officer or a military attaché, I left very happily." "Why don't you ask the next question?" "Then what?" What Yuan Tiangang didn't have time to say was that these 3 people would eventually be demoted if they reached the 5th rank of officials within 10 years. When people ask fortune tellers, in addition to listening to good things, they also need to think about what the fortune teller did not say directly. How to avoid disaster. The story that Yuan Tiangang showed Wu Zetian's face may be a fabricated story by later generations. Source: Daily Headlines. Yuan Tiangang's most successful and classic case was to read the fortune teller of the young Wu Zetian. I believe everyone is familiar with this widely circulated story. The village man briefly tells the story again here. At that time, Wu Zetian's father, the warrior Yi, heard about Yuan Tiangang's name and specially invited the old man to his home for a fortune-telling. The old man said that Wu Zetian's mother could give birth to a noble son, and her 2 half-brothers could reach the 3rd rank of officialdom. His judgment on Wu Zetian's sister was that she could get rich and noble, but it would not be beneficial to her husband. Finally, the nanny came out holding the young Wu Zetian, who was disguised as a man. Yuan Tiangang was shocked. This child looked so precious. If she is a girl, she can be the emperor in the future. New Book of Tang Dynasty Biography Chapter 129, the youngest of the queen, she held her in her arms to see him as a boy. Tiangang looked at his steps and eyes, and said in shock, "Dragon eyes and phoenix necks are extremely valuable, if she is a woman, as the emperor." Old Tang Book Biography Volume 141, this gentleman's expression is refreshing, which is not easy to know. Let's try it and see. Tiangang was shocked and said, "This gentleman has dragon eyes and a phoenix neck. He is a noble man." Extremely. He turned to look at her sideways and said in surprise, "If she is a woman, it is really unfathomable, and she will be the master of the world from now on." This story appears in official history books such as the Old and New Tangshu. However, I have reservations about the authenticity of the incident. Thinking of Wu Zetian's various actions before and after she came to the throne, I think that Yuan Tiangong's fortune-telling of the young Wu Zetian was probably fabricated to further prove the rationality of Wu Zetian's divine right to rule. Why did he arrange for Yuan Tiangang to meet the young Wu Zetian? Yuan Tiangang was a famous master of fortune-telling in the late Sui and early Tang dynasties. He was good at wind reading and had absolute authority in fortune-telling. He could often determine a person's wealth in one word. Moreover, he also collaborated with another master Li Chunfeng to complete the famous Tui Bei Tu in Chinese history, which has puzzled future generations for more than 1,000 years. During the day period of the Sui dynasty, Yuan Tiangang read fortunes for Du Yan, Wang Gui, and Wei Ting in Luoyang. He made accurate predictions about their future official positions, their exile and their reappointment, and other life experiences. When I was in Sichuan, I met Dou Gui, who was still very poor at the time, and said that he would definitely make great achievements in the future. Later, Dou Gui met Yuan Tiangang twice and predicted his future life development equally accurately. After the establishment of the Tang dynasty, Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty heard about his name and summoned him to the palace to read his fortune for the ministers. He believed that Sen Wenwen, a member of Zongshu Shi, had extraordinary literary talent, but if he became a third-rank official, his lifespan would be damaged. Shima Zhou has a very good appearance, it is beyond words to be rich and noble, but he may not live long. He also told Zhang Xingcheng, another imperial censor, that he is plump in the lower pavilion. Although he got the official position late, he will eventually live in the position of prime minister and assistant. Later, it all came true. Therefore, Yuan Tiangong's endorsement of the Prime Minister's prediction that Wu Zetian would become the master of the world was naturally very authoritative. At the same time, it also provided strong theoretical support and public opinion for Wu Zetian's revolution in the Tang dynasty. According to the fortune-telling process recorded in the Old and New Tang books, we found that there are many things that are not consistent with common sense. For example, Wu Zetian was a baby or a child at the time. Why did her family lie to Yuan Tiangang and say that she was a little boy? They had their faces read to the whole family. Why is there no record of their father having their faces read? Old Tang books record that Zetian was in his infancy at the beginning of his life. In ancient times, infant refers to babies under 1 year old. When Wu Zetian was 1 year old or in the 7th year of Wu Yud, the warrior Yi was not in Sichuan. When looking at the fortune teller, Yuan Tiangang said, "It's hard to know, just give it a try." In other words, he asked Wu Zetian to take a few steps to see. Obviously, it is unrealistic to let a 1-year-old baby walk. Therefore, the statement in the Old Tang book is questionable. The new book of Tang dynasty states that the youngest of the queen, she holds her in her arms to see her, and she carries her to his son. This description is more in line with the real situation. From the 2nd year of Zhenguan to the 6th year of Zhenguan, Wu Zetian's age should be 4 to 8 years old. The nanny carried her out, and it is more reasonable to estimate that she should be 4 or 5 years old. There is a question here. Since Master Yuan Tiangang was invited to tell fortunes for his family, why did Wu Zetian wear boy's clothes and deliberately deceive her into saying that she was a boy? Just like when you go to see a fortune teller and deliberately dress yourself up in a gender-neutral manner, is it a lack of brains or is it a deliberate attempt to test the ability of the fortune teller? Obviously not in line with common sense. Unless Wu Zetian's parents had the ability to predict the future and were worried that the fortune teller would discover the child's secret, and deliberately made things mysterious to make the fortune teller's judgment inaccurate. If this is the case, then why bother asking Yuan Tiangang to come see him? In addition, Yuan Tiangang showed it to the wife of the warrior Yu, his son and daughter, and finally Wu Zetian made the final appearance. Isn't it very similar to the plot setting of the novel? When Tiangang saw his mother, he said, "My wife, I will give birth to a noble son." Then he saw his second son Yuan Qing and Yuan Zhuang and said, "The third rank of official is the guarantee for the head of the family." I met a Korean lady and said, this girl is noble but not good for her husband. As the inviter, why didn't Samurai Yan ask Yuan Tiangang to show him how his career was going? But none of the records show Yuan Tiangong's experience of meeting Samurai Yan. This is again unreasonable. Finally, as a very authoritative face master, could Yuan Tiangang really not see that Wu Zetian was a girl at this time? Yuan Tiangang not only watched carefully, but also let the child take a few steps and observed meticulously. Can dressing up like a boy and saying deceptive words really deceive Yuan Tiangang? Yuan Tiangang served as the magistrate of Huajing County during the Wuyud period. He was a person with political status and was by no means the kind of fortune teller. Therefore, he must be very cautious in the way he speaks. Saying without hesitation, if you are a woman, you will be treated as the emperor, this should not be in line with Yuan Tiangong's style of doing things. In the early years of Zhenguan, people began to spread the prophecy that after the third generation of the Tang dynasty, the heroine Wu Wang will rule the world. At the same time, Taibei star appeared many times during the day, and Taishi came to the conclusion that the heroine is prosperous after divination. Li Shimin was distraught about this. Li Chunfeng advised Li Shimin, no one can disobey the orders of heaven. The king will not die, and the disciples will kill innocent people. If he is killed now, it will appear again in the future. At that time, I am afraid that your majesty's descendants will be killed. The slaughter was complete. While greatly exaggerating Wu Zetian's mystery, a man named Li Zhongxian also took the blame and was executed by Li Shimin inexplicably. Li Zhongxian, who was granted the title of Duke of Wuhan County, was born in Wuhan as General Zhou Wuvai. His nickname was Wu Niang, and he was on duty at the Suanwu Gate. Li Shimin believed that this person who had the word everywhere coincided with him was the one who captured the Tang dynasty. People who go towards the country. After Wu Zetian proclaimed himself emperor, Li Zhongxian's descendants appealed. Wu Zetian was very happy to restore Li Zhongxian's reputation and bury him with ceremony. What she did was to show the world that she was the real heroine. Wu Zhou's replacement of Tang dynasty was in compliance with God's will and no one could stop her. When emperors came to the throne, especially the founding emperors, they always liked to create some auspicious signs to prove that they were destined by destiny. In the more than 20 years from the time when she came to the throne to becoming the emperor, Wu Zetian has always spared no effort in the matter of mythology herself. Before proclaiming himself emperor, Wu Chunxi, Wu Zetian's nephew, threw a stone engraved with Our Lady of Water, Yongchang Emperor into the water, and then had it fished out and presented to Wu Zetian. Wu Zetian happily called the stone a treasure map and gave himself the title Holy Mother God Emperor. In the first year of Zaishu, ministers wrote congratulatory letters one after another, saying that a phoenix appeared in the Mingtang and flew into Shangyang Palace. It landed on the plane tree and refused to leave for a long time. Then it flew southeast, followed by tens of thousands of birds. I'm afraid this is another artificial auspiciousness. After taking the throne, he arranged for monks to compile the Daun Sutra, overhauled Daun temples across the country, and declared that he was the reincarnation of Maitreya. After 2 years of longevity, he gave himself the title Emperor of the Golden Wheel Holy Spirit. During the long period of time, someone said that he saw the footprints of Buddha in Chengzhou, so he changed his title to Dezhu. He bought all the copper and iron in the world, called on the kings and ministers of all countries to donate money, and built the Tianzhu of Great Zhou and all nations to praise virtue, which represented that Wu Zhou was the center of the world. Climbing Mount Song, naming it a sacred mountain, and other actions are constantly hinting to people that Wu Zhou's victory in the world was in compliance with God's will. Thinking of Wu Zetian's behavior towards her various myths after she came to power, and looking back at Yuan Tiangong's judgment on Wu Zetian's appearance, it is difficult not to think about it. This is probably another episode of Wu Zetian's myth itself. 5th. Xianwei. Source: ChatGPT. Xianwei is an official position in the ancient Chinese official system, mainly responsible for public security and administrative affairs at the county level. The following are some basic responsibilities and situations of county captains. Public security responsibilities. County lieutenants are mainly responsible for maintaining county security and preventing and combating thieves, riots and other public security problems. They usually organize and command local garrison, conduct patrols and police work, and ensure peace in the county. Administrative responsibilities. County lieutenants also assume some responsibilities in administrative management, including management of land, household registration, taxation, etc. They need to assist higher-level governments in implementing various policies and ensuring the normal operation of county-level administrative affairs. Judicial duties. In some cases, county lieutenants may also assume certain judicial duties, handling some minor criminal cases or disputes. In ancient China, officials often combined law enforcement, administrative and judicial functions. Paperwork. County lieutenants are required to record and report on security, administrative and judicial matters, report to and receive instructions from higher levels of government. The county captain is an important official position in the local official system, and its specific responsibilities and powers may vary depending on the era and dynasty. In the feudal system of ancient China, county captains were usually officials appointed by the central government or local rulers. They had a relatively low status, but they played a key role in local government affairs and social governance. Source: Wikipedia. County Wei is the name of a local official in ancient China. Together with the county magistrate, he was the primary auxiliary official of the county magistrate, or magistrate, in ancient times. His powers and responsibilities generally included military duties such as arresting thieves and maintaining public security. The equivalent of today's county police chief. The establishment of county captains began in the Qin and Han dynasties. The number of county captains varies depending on the size of the county. Large counties may have 2 captains, while capital counties such as Chong'an in the Western Han Dynasty, Luoyang in the Eastern Han Dynasty, Luoyang in the Western Jin Dynasty, and Jiankong in the Eastern Jin Dynasty all have 4 captains. During the Sui and Tang dynasties, it was once renamed County Zheng, and then restored. Although the position of county captain is low, in the Tang dynasty many scholar bureaucrats who came from the imperial examination often had to hold this position before they could be further promoted. In many Tang poems, the term Shaofu often refers to county captain. Meng Jiao, the author of the popular Wandering Sons song left in the Tang dynasty, was the captain of Liang County. During the Ming and Qing dynasties, the officers who were dismissed were replaced by officials such as Dian Shi, inspector, etc. to take over their duties. 6th. Calendar. Source: ChatGPT. Calendar is a system for measuring time and dividing years, months, and days. Every culture and country has developed its own calendar throughout history. People from different civilizations and religious backgrounds have developed various calendars to meet their needs for recording and calculating time. Here are some famous calendars throughout history. Solar calendar, a calendar based on the Earth's revolution around the Sun, usually a year of 365 or 366 days. The Gregorian calendar is one of the most widely used solar calendars in contemporary times. Lunar calendar, a calendar based on the changes in the phases of the moon. The monthly cycle is about 29.5 days. The Islamic calendar and the Hebrew calendar are examples. Lunar calendar, a calendar that combines the movements of the sun and moon, often used for calculations in agriculture and religious ceremonies. The Chinese lunar calendar and the Indian lunar calendar are the representatives. Epoch, a calendar whose starting point is a specific event, such as the Christian era, which is the time traditionally believed by Christians to be the birth of Jesus. Julian calendar and Gregorian calendar. The Julian calendar formulated by Roman astronomer Julius Caesar was revised in the 16th century to form the Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar is currently one of the most commonly used calendars internationally. Iranian calendar, also known as the Persian calendar, it is based on the traditions of the Persian Empire and is the official calendar of Iran and other regions. Hindu calendar. India has multiple calendars, among which the Indian national calendar is the solar calendar officially used, while the Indian lunar calendar is used for agricultural and religious festivals. Islamic calendar, taking the origin of Islam, the migration of the Prophet Muhammad, Hijra, as its starting point. The Islamic calendar is a purely solar calendar. The formulation and use of these calendars have been influenced by various factors such as history, culture, and religion. Different civilizations and regions may use different calendars, resulting in diverse ways of measuring time around the world. Source: Wikipedia. The calendar is a method of calculating time based on days. Time within one day is counted as time. There are three main types: solar calendar, lunar calendar, and lunisolar calendar. The solar calendar is also a solar calendar, and its calendar year is a tropical year. The currently internationally accepted Gregorian calendar, Western calendar, is a type of solar calendar, also referred to as the solar calendar. The lunar calendar is also called the lunar calendar, or a type of solar calendar. The lunisolar calendar. The average calendar year is a tropical year, and the calendar month is a synodic month. Because the difference between the 12 synodic months and the tropical year is too big, leap months are set in the lunisolar calendar. Therefore, this calendar is consistent with the moon phases and the cyclical movement of the Earth around the Sun. The Chinese lunar calendar is a lunisolar calendar. 7th. Li Shimin. Source: ChatGPT. Li Shimin, 598–649, was the second emperor of the Tang dynasty in China. He was honored as Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty during his reign. Li Shimin was the third son of Emperor Taizong Li Yuan of the Tang dynasty, and the grandson of Emperor Jiaozhou Li Yuan of the Tang dynasty and Queen Wenda. His mother is Li Yuan's concubine Dugujiaoluo. Li Shimin reigned from 627 to 649. During his reign, he implemented a series of reforms and policies, laying the foundation for the prosperity of the Tang dynasty. He was hailed by later generations as one of the outstanding monarchs in Chinese history. The following are some important deeds during Li Shimin's reign. Putting down the Sun Yumen rebellion. In 626 AD, Li Shimin's elder brothers Li Jiancheng and Li Yuanji launched the Sun Yumen rebellion, which resulted in the death of Tang Jiaozong Li Ji. Li Shimin quickly suppressed the rebellion, forced Li Jiancheng and Li Yuanji to commit suicide, and ascended the throne as emperor. Implementing reforms, Li Shimin implemented a series of political, military, and economic reforms. He weakened the power of the wealthy families, strengthened the centralization of power, promoted the reform of the official selection system, established the system of renting and mediocrity, and strengthened the establishment and management of the army. Illustrious military exploits. Li Shimin personally participated in many foreign wars and expanded the territory of the Tang dynasty. He defeated the Eastern Turks, regained the lost territory, and consolidated the border. He also sent generals such as Li Jing and Li Ji to conquer the western regions and achieved major victories. Zhenguan Political Essentials. Li Shimin compiled Zhenguan Political Essentials during his reign. This book summarized the political experience of the early Tang dynasty and became one of the references for later rulers. Detecting and promoting virtuous people. Li Shimin implemented the policy of detecting and promoting virtuous people and focused on selecting talents. He hired a group of outstanding civil officials and military generals, laying the foundation for the long-term peace and stability of the Tang dynasty. During his reign, Li Shimin implemented many policies that were beneficial to national prosperity and social stability, and played a positive role in the prosperity of the Tang dynasty. His governance during his reign was imitated by many subsequent rulers, and the Tang dynasty became a glorious period in Chinese history. Source: Wikipedia. Li Shimin, Taizong of the Tang dynasty, January 28, 598, July 10, 649, was the second emperor and first prime minister of the Tang dynasty. The second son of Emperor Jiaozhou of the Tang dynasty, Li Yuan, and his mother, Empress Taimudo, were famous politicians, military strategists, and national leaders in Chinese history. One of the most famous emperors in the world, he is also one of the models of wise emperors that future generations strive to emulate. After the destruction of the Eastern Turkic Khanate, he was called Celestial Khan by the nine surnamed Tile, the king of the western regions, and the Tocharoy protector, becoming the first heavenly Khan. Li Shimin joined the army as a young man and once rescued Emperor Yang of Sui dynasty at Yanmen Pass. After Jiniang raised troops to capture Chang'an, he was granted the title of Duke of Qin. After the establishment of the Tang dynasty, he was named General Tianzi, King of Qin, Taiwei, Situ, and Shang Shuling. He was an outstanding military strategist and led his troops to pacify Shui Rengao, Lu Wuzhu, Dou Jiande, Wang Shisheng and other late Sui dynasty heroes, laying the foundation for the establishment of the Tang dynasty. He made great achievements in the process of unification. In the 9th year of Wu Yud, 626 AD, he launched the Suanwu Gate Rebellion and killed his elder brother, Prince Li Jiancheng, and his fourth brother, Prince Li Yuanji of Qi, as well as 2 other princes. He was established as the crown prince. Soon after, Tang Jiaozu Li Yuan was forced to abdicate and Li Shimin ascended the throne. For Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty, only one reign name was used during his reign, Zhenguan. After Li Shimin ascended the throne, he actively listened to the opinions of his ministers, governed the world with civility, opened up new territories, and became a famous wise king in Chinese history. He humbly accepted advice and practiced frugality at home, so that the people could recuperate, and finally made the society peaceful, and created the famous Zhenguan rule in Chinese history, which laid the foundation for the later Kaiwan era, also known as the Kaiwan rule, and the Tang dynasty. 130 years of prosperity laid an important foundation. Li Shimin loved literature and calligraphy, and only the inscription in the Jin Temple and the preface to his original work remain. On July 10, 649, the end of May in the 23rd year of Zhenguan, Li Shimin died of illness in Hanfan Hall at the age of 51. After reigning for 23 years, his temple name was Taizong, and his posthumous title was Emperor Wen. Empress Da's eldest son and his eldest son were buried together in Zhaoling. 8th. Li Gua. Source: ChatGPT. Li Gua is a hexagram in the Book of Changes, which consists of upper Li, fire, and lower Li, fire. The hexagram image of Li hexagram is 2 identical hexagram lines overlapping, symbolizing fire. The hexagram of Li Gua describes the image of fire, which is related to passion, light, vitality, and creativity. Li Gua represents an upward drive and is sometimes associated with the image of the sun. In the Book of Changes, the symbolic meanings of Li Gua include fire, brightness, heat, light, enthusiasm, prosperity, etc. Here are some of the main symbols and interpretations of Li Gua. The brightness of fire is attached to wood. Li Gua symbolizes fire. Fire can illuminate the surroundings and give people a bright feeling. Fire attached to wood means that the fire is growing and has greater prosperity and development. A gentleman speaks and acts with more knowledge in order to cultivate his virtue. The principle of behavior of a gentleman in Li Gua is to extensively study the words and deeds of his predecessors, and improve his moral character through the accumulation of knowledge and experience. When the sun sets away, if you sing without beating the fu, you will be in a bad mood. If you sing without beating the fu but sigh deeply at sunset, you will face an ominous situation. This image reminds people to act in time and seize opportunities instead of getting too hung up on the past. If the white tiger is attached to the ox, the gentleman should be honest and unyielding, and he will not be ruthless. When the white tiger is attached to the ox, the gentleman should remain upright but not arrogant, stick to his principles and not boast. The hexagram composed of the changed lines of Li hexagram is Xian hexagram, which means that under the influence of enthusiasm and vitality, people should listen to each other, understand each other and work together. Overall, Li Gua conveys a positive energy, reminding people to develop themselves and promote the prosperity of their careers, driven by enthusiasm, light, and creativity. Source: Baidu Encyclopedia. The hexagram Li, Li, is the name of the hexagram Li at the top and Li at the bottom. It is the 30th hexagram of the 64 hexagrams in the Book of Changes, and its code name is 5:5. Li is fire, Li Gua, and supports it. Both the main hexagram and the guest hexagram are 5 hexagrams, and the hexagram symbol is fire. This hexagram is overlapped with the same hexagram, Xia Li and Shang Li. Explain the principle of dependence. The host and the guest are like two pairs of burning fires, illuminating each other and competing with each other to see whose flame is brighter and who shines longer. The host should try to shine as brightly as possible. When you are in danger, you must cling on and find support to be safe. We should grasp the principle of fairness and avoid taking advantage of opportunities. We should be aware that ups and downs, life and death are natural principles, know heaven and be happy about destiny, so that we will not seek trouble because we cannot rely on ourselves. Dependents should not take advantage of others' danger and use coercion to avoid disaster. Those who rely on the strong should be meek and moderate, and be alert at all times, so that danger can be turned into safety. In the overview diagram, red represents the line that is in place, and sky blue represents the line that is not in place. There is no correspondence between the lines of Li Gua. Li Gua explains the principle of attachment. When you are in danger, you must cling on and find support to be safe. But when seeking attachment, you must first identify your goals and choose carefully. We should grasp the principle of fairness and avoid opportunism. We should be aware that ups and downs, life and death are natural principles, know heaven and be happy about destiny, so that we will not seek trouble because we cannot rely on ourselves. Dependents should not take advantage of others' danger and use coercion to avoid disaster. Those who rely on the strong should be meek and moderate, and be alert at all times, so that danger can be turned into safety. The purpose of attachment is to unite, therefore, the saboteurs should be eliminated decisively, but we should also be lenient, only the culprits should be eradicated, and the subordinates should not be investigated in detail. It is separated both inside and outside, with deposits and Sundays in the middle, and it is clear both above and below. People in the world are happy to see it shine, and it is glorious and beautiful, and they obey it. Everything is clear, and the reputation is outstanding. When a gentleman gets it, it is a symbol of separation and brightness. Li Jia Li is the first hexagram of the Li hexagram, named Bashun hexagram. In the hexagram, there are fathers, brothers, and sons, financial officials, and is the Fu Shen of the 7 hexagrams under this palace. Yu Gua and Qi Gua. Li Gua, the 5 elements belong to fire, the direction is south, and the gender is middle-aged female. Middle daughter, the second girl, or the girl who is not the youngest after the eldest daughter. Different matching contents have different meanings. As shown below, in the Li hexagram, the ridge is water. If fire is lowered and water is raised, the pot will inevitably boil. In a certain event, the intended success will be immediate. It can also be described as water will extinguish the fire in a certain event. If you go down the ridge and go up, nothing will be accomplished. The water will flow down and the fire will burn up, and no one will interfere with anyone. As shown below, Li Gua shakes upward, and the shock is like thunder. In a sense, it is likely to be an out-of-control situation. Thunder and fire are rising into the sky, and something earth-shattering is about to happen. Therefore, in Qi Gua, it is discussed based on people and events, and the cause and effect reincarnate. The Book of Changes contains all things and is derived from the natural laws of all things, and also requires penetration, awareness, and understanding of nature. 9th. Yuan Li tests horses, Yuan Tiangang, Li Chunfeng. Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty asked his ministers to test the horse racing. Yuan Tiangang said, "Red horse." Li Chunfeng, "No." The result is unexpected. Source: Daily Headlines. The Four Great Classics Journey to the West once described a story about Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty, Li Shimin, who returned to the underworld and returned to the underworld. In his sleep, Tang Taizong was chased around by the Jinghe Dragon King on the Wolong platform. The Jinghe Dragon King clamored to beg Li Shimin for his life. Fortunately, I met Guanyin Bodhisattva, who used willow branches to lead the decapitated Jinghe Dragon King away, and drove away the karmic dragon. Although he escaped from danger in the dream, when Emperor Taizong Li Shimin woke up, he was still in shock and shouted, "There is a ghost! There is a ghost!" After that, Li Shimin's health deteriorated and he became terminally ill, and eventually his soul wandered to the underworld. With the help of Kui Ju, the judge in charge of the underworld case, Tang Taizong was added to his lifespan by 20 years and helped Li Shimin return to life. Yuan Yi Yuan noticed that in Journey to the West, it was a fortune teller named Yuan Shaocheng on the streets of Chang'an who pushed the Dragon King of Jinghe River to the Vortex Dragon platform. In the famous book Journey to the West, the author said that Yuan Shaocheng was familiar with the 6 lines and proficient in the 8 trigrams. He can understand astronomy and geography, and he is good at understanding yin and yang's opportunities. Therefore, the hexagram prediction is particularly good, every shot is accurate and nothing misses the mark. This made the Jinghe Dragon King furious and came to Chang'an to make a bet with Yuan Shaocheng. After consulting historical materials, we found that Yuan Shaocheng in the famous book has no other person in history. But in the Tang dynasty, there was a man with the same surname, Yuan Tiangang, who was in the Tang dynasty and was well versed in the Book of Changes and could predict events 500 years before and after. Yuan Tiangang was born in the late Sui dynasty and served as a senior official. At the end of the Sui dynasty and the beginning of the Tang dynasty, the world was in chaos. Yuan Tiangang returned to his hometown and made a living by selling divination. Because Yuan Tiangang is proficient in the Book of Changes such as facial appearance, Lu Ren, and 5 elements, all the things he predicts are accurate, and the good and bad fortunes he predicts come true many times. In the 6th year of Zhenguan, Li Shimin, Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty, recruited him into the think tank. At the suggestion of Fang Xianling, an important minister of the Tang dynasty, Yuan Tiangang was granted the title of 5th-rank admonishment official. Therefore, some opinions on the internet pointed out that the original form of Yuan Shaocheng, the Yi Shui master in Journey to the West, is most likely referring to Yuan Tiangang. In the 17th year of Zhenguan, Yuan Tiangang and Li Chunfeng, another famous scholar of the Tang dynasty, jointly published Tuibei Tu, which was used to predict the fate of the Tang dynasty for Li Shimin, Taizong of the Tang dynasty. It is known as the first book of Chinese prophecies. In the Tang dynasty, in addition to ancient books such as Tuibei Tu, Yuan Tiangang and Li Chunfeng also left some interesting philosophical stories in the Book of Changes. According to legend, Emperor Taizong Li Shimin of the Tang dynasty led his officials to watch a horse racing competition. The 2 horses, red and black, were both called Fire. On a whim, Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty asked Yuan Tiangang and Li Chunfeng to predict which horse would win first. Yuan Tiangang believes that the color of fire in the 5 elements of Zhuyi is red, so the red horse should arrive first. Li Chunfeng believes that the fire is bright and the smoke rises first. The smoke is black and green, so the dark horse should arrive first. As a result, the dark horse was indeed 1 step ahead of the red horse and arrived first. The basic contents of Book of Changes include images, numbers, principles, and divination. It turns out that Yuan Tiangang uses fire as the symbol, so he can win by breaking the red horse, while Li Chunfeng believes that the black horse can win, reasoning based on Ili. Those who want to learn Yi should first focus on principles. Yuan Tiangang and Li Chunfeng once competed head-on. The person who asked the question was Li Shimin. Guess who won? Source: Sohu. There were many legendary warlocks in ancient Chinese history, and Yuan Tiangang and Li Chunfeng were the best among them. In terms of fame and achievements, they were on par with each other. Because the two belong to the same era and have many intersections in their lives, they are often compared by future generations. There are many anecdotes about Yuan Tiangang and Li Chunfeng. There are even folk legends that they are biological brothers. They were both born to the fairies in the paintings, and were later raised by the Yuan and Li families respectively. Of course, legends are just legends and should be treated as entertainment and should not be fully believed. However, Yuan Tiangang and Li Chunfeng did live in the same historical stage, that is, at the end of the Sui dynasty and the beginning of the Tang dynasty, and most of their major deeds occurred during the period of Tang Taizong Li Shimin. The two of them not only knew each other, but also worked together and fought against each other. They were close friends and partners who cherished each other. The most wonderful book of ancient prophecies, Tui Bei Tu, was written jointly by Yuan Tiangang and Li Chunfeng. It is said that Li Shimin ordered Yuan Tiangang and Li Chunfeng to predict the fate of the Tang dynasty. As a result, the two men couldn't stop it. They predicted the fate of China for more than 2,000 years after the Tang dynasty, from the imperial era to the great contemporaneity, until Yuan Tiangang pushed Li Chunfeng's he pushed his back and said, "The secret of heaven can't be revealed anymore, let's go back and rest." This is where the name of Tui Bei Tu comes from. Yuan Tiangang and Li Chunfeng not only cooperated, but also played against each other, such as the famous broken horse into the river. The story still happened during the Zhenguan period of the Tang dynasty. Yuan Tiangang and Li Chunfeng followed Li Shimin on an outing in the countryside. On the way, they encountered two horses, red and black, by the river. Li Shimin asked them to calculate which horse entered the river first. Yuan Tiangang immediately divined and found out that Li was fire, and fire was red, so Yuan Tiangang concluded that the red-haired horse must have entered the river first. Li Chunfeng's method was different. He didn't do divination, but based on drilling wood to make fire. He saw black smoke before seeing red fire, so he concluded that the black-haired horse must have entered the river first. As a result, the dark horse entered the river first, and Li Chunfeng made the right calculation. However, Li Chunfeng believed that Yuan Tiangang was more intelligent, because if it weren't for Yuan Tiangang, he would not have been able to understand the relationship between smoke and fire. I don't know whether Li Chunfeng's remarks were self-effacing or his true thoughts. However, this was only one of the countless battles between Yuan Tiangang and Li Chunfeng. In their contests, they both won and lost. It is difficult to say who is more powerful. So what do readers think of Yuan Tiangang and Li Chunfeng? Who do you think is better? Welcome to leave a message for discussion. 10th. Jin Shengtan. Source, Wikipedia. Jin Shengtan, April 17, 1608 to August 7, 1661, whose real name was Jin Ronrui, also known as Jin Cai, and whose courtesy name was Shengtan. Some people think that his original name was Zhang Cai, which is incorrect, claimed to be a member of the Tiantai sect of Buddhism. The reincarnation of Master, because he took the name of Xian, he was born in Suzhou and a famous literary critic in the late Ming and early Qing dynasties. He was a straightforward man and was proud of his talent. He was born in Luan in his early years. He was obsessed with Buddhism and regarded himself as a scholar. He wrote tirelessly and cried in the temple. The case was sentenced to death. Jin Shengtan once commented on the novel Water Margin, the opera The Romance of the West Chamber and Tang poems by Du Fu. His comments were dense and detailed, down to every word and sentence. He connected with the new style of commenting on novels and operas since the late Ming dynasty, and was used by later Chinese, Japanese and Korean writers. Emulate. He was dissatisfied with the recruitment plot in the second half of Water Margin and cut the original version of 100 chapters into 70 chapters, creating a clearer and more compact new version. The Romance of the West Chamber is also recognized as the most beautiful novel. He surrendered to the talented girl Yes Yaoluan, also known as Qiang Zhang, and wrote a touching chapter, which became a legend about the scholar bureaucrats in Jiangnan. It was also one of the materials for Cao Suekin to conceive and compose Dream of Red Mansions. Jin Chengtan improved the status of popular literature and proposed the theory of 6 talents, which brought novels and operas together with traditional classics and poetry. He was praised as the pioneer of the Chinese vernacular movement and occupied an important position in the history of Chinese literature. 11th. Yata bird. Source: ChatGPT. The Yatagarasu is a mythical beast in Japanese mythology, usually depicted as a 3-legged crow. It has important symbolic significance in mythology. Here are some of the main characteristics and legends about the Yata bird. 3 legs. The Yatagata is often described as a crow with 3 legs. This special appearance makes it very unique in mythology, as most birds have 2 legs. Sacred symbol. The Yatagata is considered a messenger of the gods in Japanese mythology and is sometimes associated with the sun deity, such as Amaterasu. Its appearance is often interpreted as a guide or omen to the gods. Appearance in important legends. The Yatagara appears in ancient Japanese documents such as the Nihon Shoki and Kojiki, especially in important events involving the birth of Amaterasu, the interpretation of oracles, and the mythological period. Modern symbol. The Yatagata bird is also used as a symbol in modern Japanese culture, often appearing in various forms of art, literature, and logos. It is believed to represent divine guidance, wisdom, and justice. Overall, the Yatagata is a mythical beast with important symbolic significance in Japanese mythology. Its image and legend add mysterious and sacred elements to Japanese culture and beliefs. Source: Wikipedia. Yatagarasu, Japanese, Yatagarasu, is a crow in Japanese mythology that led Emperor Jimmu from Kumano country to Yamato country under the orders of the High Emperor's spiritual god and Amaterasu during the eastern expedition of Kumu. It is usually depicted as a 3-legged crow. Image. In Kumano Santon, crows are worshipped as Misaki gods, god messengers, and Yatagarasu, who appears in Japanese mythology, is regarded as the incarnation of the sun. In the past, the jade seal of a bear bison, which was often used in invitations, was painted with a crow. In the record of new surnames, Yatagarasu is the incarnation of Kumo Kenkaku's great-grandson, Takao's spiritual master, who later became the ancestor of the Lord of Kumo County. Therefore, the Yatagarasu shrine in Haruhara District, Uda City, Nara Prefecture worships Kumo Kenkaku's life as its deity. In addition, the Yatagarasu was also the flag seal of the Suzuki family, the Zaigasu of Kii province during the Warring States period. 12th. Tuibei 2 full text. The first image. Jiazi, do it down, do it up, do it. The prophecy says. The vast world, I don't know where to stop. The cycle of the sun and moon begins again and again. The song says. From Pangu to Zi, tigers fight with dragons, and things are strange. To understand the true meaning of cycle lies in trying the theory of Yuan Yuan in the later Tang dynasty. Jin Chengtan said. This image is related to the governance of chaos in ancient and modern times, just like the coming and going of the sun and the moon, and the succession of yin and yang, which is what Confucius means for hundreds of generations. The red one is the sun, and the white one is the moon. There is the sun and the moon, then day and night, and there is day and night, then the cold and heat. There are cold and heat, then they are calculated and determined, there are calendars and then they are divided into systems, there are systems and then the rise and fall are seen. The second image. Yizhou, Sun below, Qian above. The prophecy says. The numerous fruits are incomprehensible. One fruit and one kernel, as old as new. The song says. All things are born in the soil and come true first. To unify the central plains, yin will flourish and yang will be exhausted first. Jin Chengtan said. A plate of fruits is Li Shi. There are 21 in number, from Emperor Jiaozu of the Tang dynasty to Zhaoxuan Fan. The Tang dynasty was almost endangered by obscenity and confusion. Although the rule of Kaiwan was comparable to that of Zhenguan, the noble concubines caused troubles, took advantage of the public opinion to spread the rumors, favored women, and Xia Di succeeded them, but it was not the beginning of Yin prosperity. The third image. Binjian, Zhen Xiaqian Xian, done. The prophecy says. The sun and moon are in the sky, shining down on the earth. Confusing and uneducated. The song says. Observe the empty form of King Kong, and once again enter the imperial palace. The remaining branches have been pulled out and their roots are still there. Who is the male rooster in the morning? Jin Chengtan said. The leader of this elephant, Wu Zhao, was in charge of the country. He deposed Zhongzong in Fangzhou and killed all the Tang clan. The first Wu family shaved off his hair and became a nun, so there is a sentence about King Kong. Jiaozong abolished the Wang family and established it, so there is the rooster in the morning is a sign of the rooster. The fourth image. Ding Mao Kun is lower and Qian is upper no. The prophecy says. Those who fly will not fly, those who walk will not leave. Zhen Yu Gao Gang Na Qiu Hao. The song says. The mighty young woman has real power and the 18 branches of extreme depression. Thanks to the concerted efforts of the monkeys, a big tree of support has been given. Jin Chengtan said. Di Renjia, the owner of this elephant, recommended Zhang Jianzi and other 5 people to rebel against the Zhou dynasty and become the Tang dynasty. Empress Wu dreamed that the parrot had both wings broken. Di Renjia said the warrior Lu Xia's surname is also the same. If he has 2 sons, his wings will be broken. The 5 monkeys refer to Zhang Jianzi. Waiting for 5 people. The fifth image. Wuchen, Kun is below and Sunda is above. The prophecy says. Yang Huifei the road to Shu is difficult. Cut off the bamboo flute before it can see the light of day. No history is safe. The song says. Yu Yang's drums and drums passed through Tongguan. On this day, the king was lucky enough to visit Jianshan mountain. If Mu Yi encounters a ghost under the mountain, he will bury the golden ring here. Jin Chengtan said. A saddle refers to Anlu mountain, and a history book refers to Shi Siming. A woman lies dead on the ground, and the imperial concubine died on Mayi slope. Suzong, who cut off the bamboos, ascended the throne, and the Anshi rebellion ended. The sixth image has already been peeled off. The prophecy says. Not all, not the emperor, but the emperor. The haze is gone, the sun and moon are shining again. The song says. The majestic flags and towering trees in the 2 capitals, the chariots are heading east again today. The world is restored and the people are happy. See peace in 1 or 2 years. Jin Chengtan said. This image shows that the Emperor Ming returned to Zhaijing. In the 9th month of the 2nd year of Emperor Da's reign, Guangping Wang Shichu Guozhi regained Zhaijing. In October, he recaptured Tokyo. The Anshi rebellion was ended. In December, the emperor returned to Zhaijing. Therefore, it was recreated. The seventh image. Zhengguyu, Zhengziagan Zhang, Wu. The prophecy says. The banners fill my eyes, the mountains and rivers are enough for me. The sudden arrival of the passerby made the central plains cry. The song says. The ants have never been able to break the dike. The 6 palaces are locked in a dream. The golden drums at the heavy gate contain military energy, the grass grows and the soil cries. Jin Chengtan said. This image shows that the vassal town is domineering and Tubo invades the central plains. The 8th image. Xinwei Kun Xiao Li Shang Jin. The prophecy says. In the blood of the gun, the soil-broken thief is also a thief. Blossoming Li Huifei the emperor said the move is auspicious. The song says. The emperor is covered in dust and Ma Xiaodong unexpectedly has 3 heroes standing in Guanzhong. A lone army stationed in Anshiji, able to close the arms both internally and externally. Jin Chengtan said. This elephant is responsible for the chaos in Jianzhong, and the 3 people are Li Zili, Zhu Si, and Li Huiguang. Li Huiguang defeated Zhu Si's power, which was tabooed by Liu Qi, so he rebelled. Therefore, it is said that the thieves who defeated them turned into thieves again. The three of them violated the palace one after another. Dizong took advantage of the news to move, and Li Sheng regained the capital with his lone army, and the country was restored to peace. The ninth image. Renshan, Qian Xia Li Sheng, De Yu. The prophecy says, neither white nor black, grass-headed people emerge. Borrow a branch and the sky is filled with blood. The song says, a hero rises above the heads of thousands of people, the rivers and mountains are stained with blood and the sun turns red. The plum blossoms on the tree are all pale, and the pitiful nest is empty even when it is covered. Jin Chengtan said. Huang Chao, the leader of this elephant, started a rebellion, and Emperor Zhou of the Tang dynasty came to Zhaozong. Zhu Wen killed him to establish himself, changed the name of his country to Liang Wen, and became Huang Chao's old party, so it was called Fu Chao. The 10th image. Diu, kanji below gone and gone above gone. The prophecy says, swinging the central plains Mou Banyu. Swimming is not clean, there is blood but no head. The song says, one queen and two masters are all promoted to heaven, and there is always one family in the vast world. Not only did they kill me alive, but there was also Li Erhua when I came back. Jin Chengtan said. The owner of this elephant, Zhu Wen, killed Queen He, Zhao Xian, and Zhao Zong to establish himself. It is called one queen and two masters. He was soon killed by his second son Yugui, which is the meaning of the third sentence in the poem. Li Qiong's son Kun Side my father took revenge, destroyed the Liang dynasty in 100 battles, and changed his name to the later Tang dynasty. This is the meaning of the fourth sentence in the poem. The 11th image. Shenshu, Duixiak and Shangja. The prophecy says, 5 people divination together, neither fortune nor fortune. To put it at the same time, joy, anger, sorrow, and joy. The song says, the dragon and the snake have been fighting each other for 30 years, and one day the same light reaches the sky. It's a good game to get to heaven. Millions of soldiers from the east entered Qinchuan. Jin Chengtan said, the actor Guo Kongqian, the master of Xiang, caused chaos, and the master of Tang was hit by a stray arrow. The 12th image. Yuhei Zhengziakan's Hang Tun. The prophecy says, just like a stone, calling someone else's father. Unifying the 28 states is no longer the Tang dynasty. The song says, the counter-omens come from many mouths, and there is no one who comes in and out. Tie a bell and you will untie it. When the father dies, the son also dies. Jin Chengtan said. The owner of this elephant, Shi Jingtang, asked for help from the Khitan. The emperor of the Tang dynasty sent Zhang Jingde to attack Shi Jingtang. Jingtang had no choice but to ask for help from the Khitan. He did it with his father's gift and bribed Yuji 16 prefectures. The Jin emperor's contribution to the founding of the Khitan state was lost. Khitan is dead, so there is a sign that the bell will be tied and the bell will be untied. The 13th image. Bing Zi, leaving the lower ridge and ascending to the end of the road. The prophecy says, when the Han River is exhausted, the birds fly high. Flying back and forth, where can I stop? The mountains are not as high as the city walls. The song says, 100 birds fly on the water, and 99 cross Shangzi. Only 1 foot has broken the ground, Gao Qi is unpacking his sweater alone. Jin Chengtan said. This elephant's Lord Guo Wei, the lord of the Zhou dynasty, took over the Han dynasty and established himself. Guo Wei was young and humble, and the world called him Guo K'er. The 14th image. Ding Zhou, Li Xia Dui Shang, leather. The prophecy says, the plum tree has its roots and buds, and the pomegranate is blooming. It only takes a moment for a dead tree to turn into spring, allowing him to compete for glory in the world. The song says, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth have ended, 13 boys and 5 princes. The wise man meets the day of peace again. 53 are unlucky. Jin Chengtan said. This elephant owner Zhou Shizong inherited Guo Wei's order and was the end of the 5 dynasties. Shizong's surname was Chai Mingrong. He was wise and decisive, diligent in governing, but he died before his achievements were completed. The 5 dynasties totaled 53 years, with 8 surnames and 13 masters. Praise. Obviously. The 15th image. Wuyan, leaving the lower part and shaking the upper part, Feng. The prophecy says. The sky has the sun and the moon, the earth has the mountains and rivers. There are people all over the country, farther behind the sun and before the sun. The song says. The war is still going on, and a few people are fighting with peace of mind. There is a true emperor in the world. He will sweep away all the monsters and see the sun. Jin Chengtan said. This elephant was built at the end of the 5 dynasties. There were many separatist regimes. However, the Qian family of Wu, Qian Lu IV, did not care about public security. The Li family of the southern Tang dynasty, Li Sheng III, knew a little about cultural relics, but the rest were promiscuous and cruel. The rise of the great ancestor, save the people from water and fire. Taizhu, nicknamed Xianghaier, holds a broom in his hand and sweeps away the heroes. The 16th image. Ji Mao Li Xiakun Shang Ming Yi. The prophecy says. Heaven is born with water, the posture is endowed with holy martial arts. Follow the heavens and respond to people, no matter now or in the past. The song says. Nata's surname is Qian and his surname is Li, and the other ministers are facing the emperor one by one. Heaven will unify the real people and create heirs without killing the people. Jin Chengtan said. The owner of this elephant, Taizhu of the Song dynasty, accepted the capital of Zhen and Bian, and the world was greatly settled. The Qian and Li clans followed suit and became naturalized. This is the rule. The 17th image. Gengchen Master Kang Xiakan. The prophecy says. Loud voice, fighting for peace. Cleaning up the border atmosphere Dian Bang Yup. The song says. The emperor personally marched across the river, and cheers arose from hundreds of miles away. Fortunately, I have a perfect woman who played a wonderful role in negotiating peace. Jin Chengtan said. This image is about the Battle of Chanyuan by Emperor Zhenzong of the Song dynasty. In the first year of Jing, the Khitan invaded in large numbers, and Cao Zun persuaded the emperor to fight in person. Fortunately, it was Chanyuan. After crossing the river, everyone who saw the removal of the cover from far and near cheered for long live, and the sound was heard for dozens of miles. The Khitan seized Qi and negotiated peace. The 18th image. XINSI, Gen X, Gen X, Gen X. The prophecy says. The mother of the world, the golden sword Fuyu the rabbit. In the year of 1938, public security was consolidated. The song says. Frequent floods and droughts are not disasters. We support the young master to sit on the funeral platform. The hairpin shines again in the DPRK, and the peaceful weather begins in Unia. Jin Chengtan said. The owner of this elephant is Renzong, and Empress Dowager Lu is listening behind the curtain. There is a dog next to it, and it is Di Qinghu. The 19th image. Ren Wu Li Xia Zhen Shang Bai. The prophecy says. Everyone rushed into the room. A million-strong army, a stone on the head. The song says. The court used strange plans and lost its troops at night, and the people were completely displaced to the northwest. Although my time is good, I still regret that I have to sit in the palace. Jin Chengtan said. This Xiangzong Shenzong misused Anxi and cited evil spirits, causing border provocations and sending troops to the northwest, killing millions of commanders. At the beginning of the Xining period, Wang Xiao made 3 plans for the army, and Anxi was shocked by his strange plan. He strongly recommended it to Shenzong is responsible for causing this disaster. The 20th image. Gai Wei Li Xiaqian Shang fellow person. The prophecy says. The sun is blind, the sun and the moon are blind. Mo and Jing, the final emperor. The song says. Father and son are of one heart and mind, the sun and moon are in the middle of the sky, and the things in their hands are. Strange clouds roll over the head of Bahai, Feng, and Longting are filled with pity. Jin Chengtan said. The owner of this elephant, Sima Guang, died, Cai Jing and his son took power, a group of children flourished, the virtuous were imprisoned, and the sun and moon were obscured. The 21th image. Jia Shen exchanges Xiajian Shang for loss. The prophecy says. In the Kongjua Palace, the snow is 3 feet deep. The Xiao Xiao of the Yuan dynasty is completely different. The song says. The enchanting atmosphere is not calm and peaceful. Scan the beacon smoke in the north to look at the imperial capital. Establishing a dynasty with different surnames and ending up with a kingdom. Divination on the 36th day of the lunar calendar traveled south again. Jin Chengtan said. This image shows that the Jin army went south and Huizong took the Zhen throne. In November of the first year of Jingkong, the capital fell. In April of the next year, the second emperor of Jin and his concubines went north and made Zhang Bangchong the emperor. The 36th divination of the world is from Taixia to Song dynasty. Huican lived for 9 generations, but there was another one after the southern crossing. In 1126 AD, the Jingkong incident occurred. AD 1127, the beginning of the southern Song dynasty. The 22th image. Yiyu, Duixia, and Lishang. The prophecy says. The horse is in full swing, is it really a good idea? Feng Feng Miao Miao Mu Zidalai. The song says. The king of Shenjing is full of anger in the southeast, and the trouble is overwhelming. Ichimuhuizi in February and August. Before leaving for Maize, it was half peaceful. Jin Chengtan said. The owner of this elephant, Sima Guang, died, Cai Jing and his son took power, a group of children flourished, the virtuous were imprisoned, and the sun and moon were obscured. The 23th image. Bing Shu. The prophecy says. Like the Tao but not the Tao Qian Shen Kunan. In Xiangguang Yunia, a broken river. The song says. Hu Er made a big show of defying his power. The 2 pillars holding up the sky were exhausted. How can I still put up a lamp and play in the water at night when the war is raging? Jin Chengtan said. The elephant owner Jia Sidao is in power, and Wang Lixin and Wen Tianxiang cannot support the Song dynasty alone. Xiongfen is under siege, and Xiza Lake is still having a night banquet with lanterns on Sidao. It is appropriate for the Song dynasty to perish. The 24th image. Dingai, Duixia Xunshang, Zongfu. The prophecy says. Mountain cliff and seaside, not only an emperor but also an immortal. 2948 Yuan Sinian. The song says. At the end of the 11th lunar month, people are unable to save their lives and are exhausted. Fighting breaks out everywhere and there is no way out. Give me guidance in the huge waves. Jin Chengtan said. The Emperor Bing moved to the mountains, the Yuan dynasty ordered Zhang Hongfen to attack, the Song general Zhang Shijia was defeated, and Lu Zaihofa betrayed the emperor and went to sea, the Song dynasty was destroyed. Song dynasty died in 1279 AD. The 25th image. Wuzi, Zhengxia, Sunshan, gradually. The prophecy says. The northern emperor and the southern Chen stand on their own feet. The water of the Ori river swallows the bird's nest to catch my ge. The song says. A tripartite fight for supremacy is a matter of course. 1 wolf and 2 rats are at odds for a moment. Although the key to Baiguan is strong, descendants may wish to. Jin Chengtan said. The owner of this elephant, Taizhu of the Yuan dynasty, was called Emperor Lai He, Taizhu's name was Temujin, and he was one of the 10 masters of the Yuan dynasty. The axe is made of iron and has a wooden handle. The 10 sections of the axe handle imply the meaning of the 10 masters. The 26th image. Already ugly shocks down, shocks up, shocks. The prophecy says, there is no night and no rice in the year. Flowers are not flowers, thieves are everywhere. The song says, in the midst of the turmoil, the logs are coming, and alarms are rising from all directions in Byanga. There is a spell of immortality in the room. No wonder the capital city is open at night. Jin Chengtan said. This elephant master obeyed the emperor's tricks to confuse the luck of the monks in the west, and indulged in entertainment, so that Lu Futong, Su Shaohui, Fang Qiuchen, Ming Yuzhen, Zhang Shishan, Chen Yaoliang, and others took advantage of the opportunity. The eunuch Pu Buhwahi did not. I heard that when I arrived in Sudai, I often went straight to the capital in spring. The capital was open at night and there was no guard. It was so sad that the Yuan dynasty was lost at the hands of the lustful monk. Lu Futong made Han Liner the emperor, so he called him Mu Mu Lai. The 27th image. Zhenjian, dry down and shock up, you. The prophecy says, only the sun and the moon are the best for the people. It thrives at the right time. Its color is red. The song says, the golden light of the branches and leaves shines brightly in all directions. The light rises on the east bank of the river. Talking in vain about the true king of Gatha. Jin Chengtan said. The owner of this elephant, Taizhu of the Ming dynasty, ascended to the throne. Taizhu was once a monk of Huangzhou Temple. During the Hongwu generation, he established great peace in the country and achieved great peace. The 28th image. Xin Mao, the lower part of the ridge shakes the upper part. Solution. The prophecy says, grass head and fire feet, the palace is in ashes. There are birds in the house and nuns in the suburbs. The song says, the sun is full of feathers and flying high. There are plum blossoms competing for beauty. The true dragon travels all over the world, my home is outside. Jin Chengtan said. The owner of this elephant, King Yan, raised an army. Li Jinglong welcomed the Yan soldiers into the capital. There was a fire in the palace. Jiang Wen wished him death. The 29th image. Renchen, the Sunda is shaking upward, hung. The prophecy says, the branches are flourishing and are the pillars of the country. How xi Kong Le benefits the public. The song says, one branch faces north and one branch east. The same applies to the species with southern branches. Unei sings the same song as a virtuous mother. It is a legacy of 3 generations. Jin Chengtan said. When the elephant master Xianzong was established, the Empress Dowager Zhang used Yang Shiki, Yang Pu, and Yang Rong to make the world peaceful again. Zifeng 3 generations, this is the rule. At that time, Shiki was called Xi Yang, Pu was called Nan Yang, and Rong was called Nan Yang. Dong Yang. The 30th image. Gui Si, Sun Xiakun ascendant. The prophecy says, half Gui and half forest, together we will create change. Stones also have spirits, life and death are prosperous and humble. The song says, even if one is missing, he will take the lead. The 6 dragons personally lead him to the edge of the lake. Heaven's heart sees again that people's hearts are in harmony, and they are in conflict with each other and cannot move forward. Jin Chengtan said. This Yang advocated the collapse of the Queen Mother and the return of power to Wang Zhen, which caused the first trouble. Later, when the emperor was restored to power, Shi Hung claimed to be the first to succeed and led the way to kill him. This is a chaos. The 31th image. Sino-Japanese War of the Sino-Japanese War, Li Xiaosun Shang family. The prophecy says, Dang Ta's legacy and filthy chaos in the palace. A man and a woman sacrificed their country. The song says, All the loyal ministers and wise men have perished, and the apocalypse has led to chaos. Even if you have the heart to be honest, the world does not belong to the old Ming Jun. Jin Chengtan said. In the 7 years since the Tiankai of this elephant, evil spirits have filled the sky, and the vitality has been injured. A man and a woman refer to the Wei family and the Hakka family. The Wei family killed the Hakka family, and the Hakka family's wet nurse was called the Lady of Fengsheng. The 3-2th image. Yai Wei, Sung Ziakan's Hangjing. The prophecy says. The horse jumps to the north and the dog jumps to the west. 8 or 9 are exhausted, the sun and moon have no light. The song says. The poplar flowers have all fallen and the plum blossoms have remained. The 5-color flags are coming from the north. The king of Jinling has exhausted his energy, and a branch of spring has taken over Chang'an. Jin Chengtan said. The owners of this elephant, Li Chuang and Zhang Xianzhong, disturbed the central plains. Changzhen surrendered to Meishan Mountain. King Fu was in peace and died soon after the Ming dynasty. The last line of the ode seems to refer to Queen Hu, which has a profound meaning. The 3-3th image. Bingshen, Sunda, Duixi, Big Fault. The prophecy says. The yellow river water is clear and the qi is smooth. There is no distinction between host and guest, the earthly branches have no children. The song says. The white waterfall comes from Tianchang, whose popularity continues. The more barriers are removed, the childishness is half pitiful. Jin Chengtan said. This phenomenon is the sign of the Manchu Qing's entry into the pass. It is a matter of luck that they turned against the guest. It cannot be restored by human power. The Liao, Jin, and then the Hu people dominated the central plains. The Huang Han people are worthy of their success. The 34th image. Dinju, Sun below, Sun above, Sun. The prophecy says. I have hair and my clothes are afraid of white. In peacetime, the king kills the king. The song says. Peace sees blood and flowers flying again, 5-color seals become linings and outer garments. The floods are surging, but the seedlings are not showing up. The central plains once had a dream that was completely changed. Jin Chengtan said. It is easy to prove the past, but it is difficult to predict the future. However, since the past has been proved, it seems that we have to extrapolate to the future. I hope that from now on, those who I call peaceful governance will be lucky, and those who I call unfair governance will not be lucky. And I can plead not guilty. This image is suspected to be caused by floods or wars and natural disasters. This is a chaos. Before Jin Chengtan died in the Taiping Kingdom, this phenomenon was already in the future for him. The 35th image. Shocked down and exchanged on top. The prophecy says. Someone from the west has set foot in the sacred capital. The emperor will not return when he leaves. 3 platforms will support him. The song says. Black clouds come dimly from the west. The emperor's son builds a golden platform near the river. There are armies in the south and fire in the north. ZTE has seen geniuses. Jin Chengtan said. This sign is suspected of hunting, and it is also a sign of chaos. In 1859, the British and French Allied forces entered Beijing and burned the old summer palace, and the emperor fled to Rihe. Later, with the promotion of Zheng Qiupan and Li Hongzhang, he began to learn from the barbarians to control the barbarians and promote new military construction. The 36th image. Zhihai, Gangxia Xunshang, small animal. The prophecy says. Slender woman defends the enemy with bare hands. Don't distinguish between good and bad, the light blocks out the sun. The song says. 2 fists spin the universe, and there is unreasonable unrest in the country. Mother and son, regardless of order, look west to Chang'an and enter the palace. Jin Chengtan said. This image doubts that a woman can conquer the central plains and build the capital of Chang'an. Sixi took power, the Zhengzhi Boxer rebellion was in turmoil, the 8-power Allied forces entered Beijing, and Empress Dowager Cixi Guangxu fled to Chang'an. The 37th image. Zhengzi, shaking down the Sunda, benefiting. The prophecy says, the Han River is vast, and there is no unified system. There is no distinction between north and south, we share weal and woe. The song says, the clear water will eventually be exhausted, and defection will occur in August. Jin Chengtan said, although there is a leader appearing in this phenomenon, it is not easy to calm down for a while, and it is also a chaos. A total of 6 versions of the pushback picture have appeared and are stored in the National Palace Museum in Taiwan. After comparison, this picture is believed to have been modified by Li Yuanhong's supporters in the early Republic of China and can be ignored. The 38th image. Xin Zhou shakes down and leaves the top, bites. The prophecy says, a deer outside the door, a crowd of heroes competing for each other. The tribulation and the kitefish are in dire straits and hot waters. The song says, when the luck of fire comes, misfortune spreads, and thousands of people die and thousands of people are born. Sea waves can make rivers turbid. What's so different outside the country now? Jin Chengtan said. This is like a military disaster that started outside the door and is a sign that it will spread inside the door. The 39th image. Renayan, Sungzia, Duis Hang, Yi. The prophecy says, birds without legs, mountains with moon. Su Chus Hung everyone is crying. The song says, the weather is not harmonious in December. There are sparrows in the southern mountains and roosters in the northern mountains. Once I heard the golden rooster crow, the sea was sinking and the sun had passed. Jin Chengtan said, this seems to indicate that a foreign barbarian has disturbed the central plains, and it will not be peaceful until the year of Yu. Japan invaded China, the year of the rooster in 1945. The 40th image. Gamao, Sungzia Zhan Shang, Gu. The prophecy says, 1, 2, 3, 4, no soil, no owner. The little Tian Gang is governed by a vertical arch. The song says, I am so arrogant when I come from the east. I have no shoes under my feet and no hair on my head. If the wood is frosty, the one who gave birth to me will die and I will die. Jin Chengtan said, this elephant has a surname of Li. It can subjugate the eastern Yi, but it cannot plan for long-term peace and stability. If it dies in Xian to control chaos, it has the meaning of beasts alive and dead. The Communist Party of China was established. In 1920, Chen Duxiu established the Marxist Research Society and the Communist Party of China was established the following year. The Communist Party of China died in the year of the rooster, and the ode to the Chinese zodiac was to use a carving instead of a chicken, because only the chicken is a bird in the Chinese zodiac. 1, 2, 3, and 4 have no soil and have a primary finger. Communism has been practiced for 40 years, the small Tian Gang refers to the party world, the vertical rule refers to the communist and puppet regime's easy rule over the people of the mainland, the lack of shoes under the feet implies the word zi, because the bare feet of the cow herd in the picture of spring cows represent more rain, but Ruo Feng Muzi Bing's Huan refers to Li Peng or Li Tenghui. Ma Yongxiu, Prime Minister Zhuge of the Shu Han dynasty, made a prophecy about the CCP and also mentioned that the CCP would perish in the year of the rooster. Lesson 11 Lower Middle. The 4 gates suddenly opened suddenly. The sound of a rooster in the morning indicates a great decline in his ways. The proof is that Yang Yin Yang Yang Yin Yang is separated in the hexagram. The 4-1th image. Jia Chen, leaves the bottom, leaves the top, leaves. The prophecy says, the sky and the earth are obscured and the vegetation reproduces. The yin and yang are reversed, the earth is above and the sun is below. The song says, you must wear a hat with blood and no head. When will you stop playing with the world? In 99 years, a big mistake was made. He could only become king in Qinzhou. Jin Chengtan said, this is like a warrior holding military power, causing earth-shaking disaster, or a person with the surname Bai can bring peace. During the Cultural Revolution, the 99 years of the big mistake refers to the Mao Mo who made the big mistake before he returned to old age 100 years ago. Kinzo refers to Yan'an, the hat in the pushback picture represents power, the blood without head should be blood without head, which means people are in ruins. Please refer to the 10th image. Yin and Yang turn against each other and point to Empress Zhongqing to seize power. The 4-2th image. Yisai Zhen Xia Li Shang Brigade. The prophecy says, beauty comes from the west, and the peace between the DPRK and China is getting better day by day. The long bow is on the ground, dangerous but not dangerous. The song says, the Western woman Pipa Fairy's bright clothes are more colorful. At this time, he was hiding in the court and the market, causing chaos among the monarchs and ministers. Jin Chengtan said, this is suspicious of a woman who is in charge of the country. Her clothes are white and she has all the power. She is almost endangering the country. It may be discovered in the year of Mao, which is a sign of the beginning of chaos. China, the Communist Party, and the United States established diplomatic relations, and the beauty came from the West refers to the Americans who came from the West. The long bow is in danger but not in danger on the ground refers to the superficial confrontation between China, the Communist Party, and the United States, but has actually given up armed confrontation. Pipa is the Hukan, which means foreigners. Jiao Jiao's clothes are brighter and brighter, referring to Citigroup. At this time, the emperor and the city are in chaos, and millions of monarchs and ministers are referring to the flow of Western ideas into the mainland, impacting the rule of the communist bandit. In 1975, Yi Mao Rabbit. The 4-3th image. Bing Guo, Sungzia, and Lishang, Ding. The prophecy says, the king is not the king, the minister is not the minister. Difficulties at the beginning, resolution at the end. The song says, the black rabbit walks into the Qinglong cave and desires more than he can say. Only on the root tree outside can descendants be born in 30 years. Jin Chengtan said, this image seems to be like a woman's chaos in the country before it is over. The king and his ministers are out hunting. An outstanding person will decide it, but it will be 30 years later. In the 1989 democracy movement, the king is neither the king nor his ministers, which refers to democracy. The beginning was difficult and dangerous, and the final victory was determined to endanger the Chinese communist puppet regime at the beginning, and was finally suppressed by the communist bandits. The desire to do everything cannot be said to mean that not all the heroes of the democracy movement were dead, only the external roots. The tree refers to foreign countries. In 30 years, the descendants and grandchildren will bear fruit 15 years later. In 1989, the zodiac sign was Snake, and after 15 years, in 2005, Yu was the zodiac sign of Rooster. The 44th image. Dingwei, the lower part of the ridge and the upper part, Wuji. The prophecy says, the sun and the moon are beautiful, and the crowd is frightened. Bailing comes to court with 2 feathers and 4 legs. The song says, nowadays, there are saints in China. Although they are not heroes, they are still successful. CE retranslates it to be called the Son of Heaven. Will the spring of the 9 kingdoms come to an end? Jin Chengtan said, this image is a sign of the saints' resurrection and the coming of the barbarians from all over the world. This is a sign of great rule. Deepen the reform and resurgence of the Chinese Communist Party. Pay attention to the meaning implied by the 4th and 2nd elephants, the bow on the ground, and the 4th and 4th elephant, the bow on the back. It means that the 4 barbarians have the intention to use force. The 45th image. Wushan, Kangxia Zhanshang, Mongolia. The prophecy says, a guest comes from the west and stops in the east. Wood, fire, metal, and water wash away this great shame. The song says, Yan Yun opens the world together and the golden crow hides in the white ocean. From now on, I dare not rule the roost. All my military strength is gone and my luck is over. Jin Chengtan said. This image was seen again in the age of peace and war, and it was on the ocean. From then on, it became even more prosperous. The Third World War was defeated, the fourth and fourth symbols and the fourth and fifth symbols were written so clearly that there was almost no need to explain them. The golden crow is the sun, alluding to the Japanese submarines in the US-Japan alliance. China, Communist Party, and the United States are engaged in a naval war, and Japan is making hidden attacks? The meaning of wood, fire, metal, and water is remarkable. The meaning of 5 elements without earth is that the armies coming from the west to avenge shame turned the continent into scorched earth? Implement the Three Guang policy? Are the communists and bandits fighting a scorched earth war? Or a high-tech war that does not require ground warfare and relies on saturation bombing? After being pointed out by netizen brother Twokahai, I discovered that the content after the 40th image in the Tuibei picture is very similar to the Zhuhao Jiwen written on December 12 and 13 in the 22nd year of the Republic of China. The 46th image. Jiu, Kangxia, Sunshan, Huan. The prophecy says. Gloomy haze, killing without a knife. 10,000 people will not die, but one person cannot escape. The song says. There was a soldier with a bow who only said that I was a white-headed man. There is a golden sword hidden in the east gate. Warriors enter the imperial palace through the back door. Jin Chengtan said. This is like a suspicious king who is in a coma, but a brave man raises an army to plead for the people. Therefore, it is said that no one can escape until 10,000 people die. The 47th image. Zhengshu, Kangxia against Hang, litigation. The prophecy says. Yan Wu Zai Yuan Zai Wei Xing Ming. Every man has a responsibility, one word is king. The song says. There is no king and no emperor to determine the world. The first person from the field. So that I can read more old books, and I will be wise once I speak a righteous word. Jin Chengtan said. This image is a sign of a virtuous king and his subordinates, a hero coming and returning, and it is a sign of help and support. However, the emperor does not take credit, the king does not take credit, and there is a flourishing rule by inaction. This is a rule. The 48th image. Leaving the lower body and working on the upper level, colleagues. The prophecy says. Between Mao and Wu, Zhu Xiang Walai. 8 bowls move Yang Yang Zixi. The song says. Water and fire bring good fortune to the people. Holding a golden sword will not kill thieves. A general in the 50 years green grass grows from the fields. Jin Chengtan said. This seems to be suspicious of a surname Zhu and a surname Miao competing for dynasty status. The surname Zhu has a tendency to conquer people with virtue, and dragons and snakes are fighting each other. I think that in the year of Chunzi, they may have established their capital in the south. The 49th image. Renzi Kun is down, Kun is up, Kun. The prophecy says. The valley has a small population and wants to destroy its nest. Emperors call them brothers and they are all heroes. The song says. A person or population cries, divided into south, north and east. The 6 lines occupy all the civilization, and the stars are everywhere, the sun and the moon are aligned. Jin Chengtan said. If we divide for a long time, we will unite, and if we unite for a long time, we will divide. It is logical. However, if there is a sign of civilization, it should be inferior to the chaos of the separatists. The 50th image. Gishu shakes the lower body and the upper body and returns. The prophecy says. Water and fire fight each other, times change. Zhengxia rises to the yuan, the beast is noble and the man is cheap. The song says. When a tiger-headed person encounters a tiger-headed year, white rice and surplus warehouse are worthless. Jackals and wolves are walking in the streets in groups. After all the wind and clouds, they finally see the sky. Jin Chengtan said. This elephant will encounter great chaos in the year of Yin. The king will be ignorant and the ministers will be violent, and the people will have no life. There will be another chaos. The 5-1th image. Jian Duixiakan Shanglin. The prophecy says. Harmony of yin and yang to rectify. Kun followed suit and felt that he would see Yao and Shun later. The song says. Who said that a woman is still strong and strong? Kun actually feels all over the world. See the new atmosphere in Zhongqian again, and may you live long and well in the 1st and 6th years of the year. Jin Chengtan said. This image is a sign of a wise king who, with the help of a virtuous queen, transformed the country and regained peace and rule. The year is 16, or he may reign for 70 years. The 5-2th image. Yu Mao, Qingxia, Kun's Hang, Tai. The prophecy says. The first appearance of a comet is not good for the northeast. Where can I stand to see the happy country? The song says. With a little effort, I can see the east. There are still emperors in Wu and Chu. Not long after the guests outside the door finally arrive, the universe is recreated in Jiaokong. Jin Chengtan said. The northeast of this elephant is being harassed by barbarians, and there are signs of moving the capital to the south. The horns are high in the South Pole. Later, a wise king came out, drove out the outsiders, and peace was restored again. The 5-3th image. Bing Chen, dry down and shake up, big and strong. The prophecy says. The Emperor of Guanzhong Corporal Li Xian. Give up your life and have a son. The song says. A filial son comes from the west, holding the key to peace in the world. There are 2 beautiful flags in the domain. Those who came before us are not as good as those who come after us. Jin Chengtan said. This is like a man named Xiao from Qin. He ascended to the center of the pass and controlled the north and south. He may have taken Qin as the name of the country. This is the rule. The 54th image. Ding Si. The prophecy says. Lili Iluoluo, a game of residual chess. Peck for breath and stay peaceful, even though you laugh, you also cry. The song says. There is no distinction between cows, rats, cattle and sheep. It is still strong to remove the hair and save the pigeons. A true dragon emerges from the world, and the water of the yellow river is not yellow. Jin Chengtan said. This sign is a sign that it will actually disappear in name. It may be the weekend, and the order cannot be implemented, so it is still issued to stop the new moon. It is also a sign that the union must be divided after a long time. The 55th image. Wu Vu, Qingxiakan's Hang Shang, Need. The prophecy says. Fear leads to discipline. Never go far. There is a woman by the water, bowing to the sun. The song says. Coveting the artifact is useless, be cautious and have ministers. To turn danger into peace and see justice, I may not be the one who delivers the rivers and mountains. Jin Chengtan said. This is like a person with the surname Shi or Lu who unified the Central Plains, and someone with the surname Ru is trying to usurp it. Fortunately, the ministers are loyal to the royal family and are vigilant. All foreign aggression will be destroyed by itself. Even if there is chaos, it will be managed. The 56th image. Jai Wei, Kun, Xiakan Shang, Bai. The prophecy says. Those who fly are not birds, those who lurk are not fish. War is not about soldiers, the game of fortune. The song says. The sea is covered with clouds and smoke for thousands of miles, reaching up to the clouds and down to the springs. The Golden Mother and the Woodworker's Fantasy. Jin Chengtan said. This is like the military using fire, which means that chaos is not the intention of the soldiers. Sanjiun, the sea is thousands of miles away, and the fierceness of the war is not limited to China. The 57th image. Geng Shen, exchange down, exchange up, exchange. The prophecy says. When things go to extremes, they must turn against each other. Use poison to make poison. 3-foot boy, 4-foot long robe. The song says. Ken and Li are in conflict with each other and meet Tianyi. The angel and the man kill the murderous intention. I don't believe that the genius produced Wu Yu, and from across the ocean, I conquered the army. Jin Chengtan said. This image means that there is a boy between Wu and Yu who can win by surprise and extinguish the prairie fire, and the bad luck will end from then on, and it will be cured. The 58th image. Zhen Yu, the lower part of the hurdle and the higher one, sleepiness. The prophecy says. Great chaos, 4 barbarian uniforms. Calling brothers 67 kingdoms. The song says. The flames of war are gone, and the sea is clear of waves. I call myself king, emperor, and unify. There is still an evil star lurking in the northwest. I cannot sing the song of peace everywhere. Jin Chengtan said. This image is a sign that kings from the 4 barbarians are coming, and the sea is calm. It is a pity that the northwest corner has not yet been peaceful. It is still a pity that it needs to be cured again. The 59th image. Rensha Zhen Xia Dui Xian. The prophecy says. No city, no mansion, no you, no me. The world is one family, governance reaches great levels. The song says. One person brings happiness to the world. Holding the stick in hand, pulling out the bamboo. Red, yellow, black and white are indistinguishable, there is harmony between the east, west, and north. Jin Sheng sighed. This is a sign of great harmony. During this period of life, drinking and eating virtuously should not be so pleasant. It is a pity that the number has come to an end, and it may go back to its original state and return to the state of chaos. The 60th image. Gui Hai Kun Xia Dui Shang Kui. The prophecy says. One yin and one yang, no beginning and no end. The end is from the end, the beginning is from the beginning. The song says. Seeking in the vast number of days, the rise and fall of the world is not free. There are countless things to say. It is better to push back and go home. Jin Chengtan said. One person is in front and one person is behind. There is going and no coming. There is no coincidence. This picture of the palace has a profound meaning. An image without an image is better than an image with an image. I explain it with incomprehension, and the author should know the same. License. Conclusion. Goblin Mode.